what happened with neighbor of yours?
Okay, so um, Jesse and I are pretty lenient people. We'd like to think. Um, we understand we're living in an apartment that's uh, got people above us and people below us. Um,
What
when
floor are you
Jordan
guys?
second,
Okay.
and when Jordan Poole, for example, did his spin move, split between the two defenders, and then just handed it to Jamichael Green, who went in for the dunk, I was very loud, and Jesse, told me to shh, and then I clapped back, and I was being loud in that moment, and I was unreasonable, and I'm the worst in those instances. Um, so I understand making noise. We got to be respectful. I don't think the people upstairs understand that, and I'm not gonna. You know me. I'm a not a very confrontational person. I'm a very passive aggressive person. So like the worst type of confrontational. And I wasn't going to go out there directly. I don't want to make
Mm-hmm.
enemies of my upstairs neighbors already. And they also have kids. So, you know, we wanted to hold back on the complaining. But we did tell the front desk, like, hey, can you maybe tell them to just be cognizant of possible noise that they can make in distracting us? Okay, cool. So we recorded the podcast, last one, on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was it that night? I think it was that night. Yeah, it was that night because I wanted to tell it on a podcast the next day. I don't think the front desk got to them with the message because when I'm trying to sleep, it's 10:30, right?
Yeah.
10:30, 10:45. I was in bed by like 9. I'm trying to I'm trying to get to sleep. I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning now.
Yeah.
Up in the room, you hear a little bit of the TV and the volume's up. A lot of mumbling. Couldn't really hear what it was. And then I hear, and clearly the beginning of the movie was quiet, and then I hear Jim Carrey's voice go, "It's a Tommy gun." And I turned to Jesse and I was like, "Holy shit, they're watching The Mask and it just started. Oh no." And I am just going through it. By the time that 12 o'clock rolled around, by midnight, still needing to get to sleep, they're in the middle of that scene with
They
the
call me Cuban Beat
you call me Cuban meat.
or Pete.
Somebody, yeah,
Chick chicky
whatever.
boom, chick chicky boom, chick chicky boom.
And I could hear that entire song. Could hear the entire thing, and I knew what was following that too. The machine gun with the dancing and
Well,
all
it
of
is
it.
catchy. Doyle.
So, Doyle, Doyle. So that's my story. They were playing The Mask and watching it, and they started at like 10 o'clock, and the volume was all the way up,
And these people got kids.
and they got kids.
Yeah.
The toddler was just, I'm not kidding, the toddler was just crying before we hopped on here live. I'm like, what are you doing watching The Mask this late at night?
Yeah. That's a. They got young kids.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, tell a story myself. Young Derek Papa, 3 years old, was in the theater for the Mask with Greg. I don't. I remember for some reason being in the theater for that and Dumb and Dumber. I don't think my dad understood what kids movies were.
your,
I'm sure I was
your dad,
obnoxious. I was like, it's
your,
just 3 years old. I'm pretty sure those movies came out like 1994. It's 3-year-old me just being loud as shit. Just like what the hell?
uh,
Like you're not putting me in Lion King. Like why am I going to see those?
you, your upbringing was a little different than mine. I watched Dumb and Dumber too much. My mom hid the videotape. I can't remember where I found it, but I eventually found it in some random spot. And I'm like, Mom, why is Dumb and Dumber inside this random cabinet? She's like, you were watching it too much, and that movie's inappropriate for you at that age.
No, come on. I mean, it's a fine movie. I watched it as a kid, and the best at the end is, hey, we need two oil boys to grease us up after every competition.
After every
Well, you are in
competition,
luck.
you're the town is back that way.
It's funny. I bring up my dad bringing me to those movies. At the same time, my mom tells me this all the time. My dad was totally against me watching Power Rangers. Thought it was too violent. Too violent.
Power Rangers.
No one bled on that show. They all were hit with sparks.
So The Mask and Dumb and Dumber are all good, but Power Rangers is not.
Apparently. Yeah.
Oh, Greg.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry to hear that, Stephen. There's nothing worse than people that are not
What do
respectful
you
of
know?
other people of other people's sleep and considerate of how loud they're being, which I'm
Man,
I'm
next up
probably
is
doing
gonna
right now.
be Liar Liar. They could probably hear everything that I'm saying right now, but I don't even care at this point.
Well, Liar Liar is a good movie.
Mm, true.
It'll,
I'm gonna be waking up at midnight tonight. The pen is blue. Oh,
the goddamn pen is blue. You should then go try to like get up to the ceiling as much as possible and just go skip the majestic. Eternal sunshine on the spotless mind's okay if you're in the right state of mind.